All right, thank you all for coming. My name is Carl Ponto, and there will be basically 30 minutes of an interactive workshop that we're going to be kicking off in a few moments, and then there'll be 30 minutes of Q&A at the end if you want to stick around. I know it's the calendar thing only said 30 minutes for the whole thing, but I want to give you guys time for Q&A at the end if you're interested. So let's get started. So depending on who you ask, we're either in or headed to a recession. So let's talk about how to recession-proof your marketing. And first off, we need to make sure we're on the same page about something very important. So did you know that companies who continued to advertise during a 2-year recession saw 256% higher sales than their counterparts post-recession? That was what McGraw-Hill found after studying 600 companies from 16 different industries during the recession from 1980 to 1985. And those who chose not to advertise during the economic slump saw virtually 0% market share increase and a rise in sales of only 18% once the economy regained traction. So hopefully we can all agree that marketing during recession is the right choice. But before we dive in, let me tell you a little bit more about myself with a story. So I've been an artist my entire life. I grew up drawing, painting, sculpting, big Legos kid. And I got my passion for storytelling from my dad. He's a really good storyteller. And I knew I wanted to study animation when I saw the first Toy Story film. I was like, ooh, I gotta do that. That's so cool. And then beginning of 2002, I started to feel like something wasn't quite right with me physically. I'd been a competitive swimmer my whole life, so I knew what I was supposed to feel like. And it wasn't like, oh, my shoulder kind of hurts. It's like a general blah feeling. But by August, they still hadn't figured out what was wrong with me, and I had lost 50 pounds and sunken cheeks and eyes. I was really pale, started to get really bad headaches. So my parents took me for an MRI up in Walnut Creek, California. And we were waiting around for another appointment when my pediatrician called and said he's going to drive up from Pleasanton to come talk with us. And we saw him walking up with this big envelope in his hands. You could tell he'd been crying. And he brought us into a little side meeting room. I remember I was sitting knee to knee with him in this big U-shaped chair with really high armrests, kind of leaning forward towards him, when he pulled out the results of the MRI and showed me that I had 2 brain tumors. And it felt like I got punched in the chest. I actually moved backwards in my chair, and for the next 2 weeks, everything sounded like the adults from Peanuts, kind of wah, 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 because I've never had the flu, never broken any major bones, never been stung by a bee. I'm pretty sure I've never been bitten by a mosquito. So to get brain tumor diagnosis at 15 years old was a complete sucker punch out of nowhere. But I got so much help from friends and family, and my high school adjusted my schedule and got me a tutor so I could still graduate on time, and people I barely knew were giving food and gifts and other support. So it really inspired me to want to give back and help as many people as I could, because I'd probably be dead if it wasn't for all the help that I got. And then in undergraduate school, as I was studying animation, there was this big student digital art and design competition I participated in, with a big screening at the end of like 1,000 people in this big auditorium. I knew maybe 10 people in the room, but when everyone laughed at the joke of my animation, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. I can connect with people and have a bigger impact with animation and storytelling. So after graduation, I started my company, and we tell exceptional stories for exceptional impact, empowering tech, biotech, healthcare, and professional services companies to increase their revenue and profits by attracting more of their best clients using storytelling and animation. No matter whether business is B2C or B2B, even B2G, they're all really H to H, which is human to human, and humans tell stories. And so by helping those sort of companies, more people in the world get their lives improved, our clients' business does better, we get a happy client, everyone wins. It's a way for me to have a bigger positive impact on the world around me, and that's why I do what I do. And so with my business, there we go. I've worked with solopreneurs to startups to national nonprofits and companies that are now worth over $1 billion explain the value of what they offer using storytelling and animation. And I'm honored to be your guide today. And admit all, there we go. Let's dive in. So odds are you fit into one of the following categories. You're either struggling to differentiate your company from the competition, people don't understand the value of your product or service, your marketing or sales efforts aren't bringing in as much revenue as you want or need, and you're worried that a recession will negatively impact your business. If any of those apply to you, write type of 1, 2, 3, and/or 4 in the chat. Let us know which ones apply to you. All right, you're seeing there. 2 from Aaron Daly. 2, explain the real value. Yep. 2 from Wendy. Thanks, Wendy. Good to see you. Good to see you, Aaron. Anyone else? All right, the rest of you guys are okay. There. Drew says 1. Lucia says recession. Yep. 1 and 2, 25. Okay. 2. Okay. All right. Thank you all for sharing that. Let me get my chat thing out of the way here. So all of these challenges are symptoms of not telling the right stories or not telling your stories the right way. Josh Bernoff wrote in an article in 2017 that led with an amazing statistic. Bad writing and storytelling is costing American businesses close to $400 billion every year. So who here would like a piece of that $400 billion back? Even just half of 1% is still like $2 million when you're taking that much money. So if you want some of that money back, type I do in the chat. If you want some part of $400 billion for your business. Aaron does, all caps with an exclamation point. All right, there we go. Yes, says Spencer. I'll take it, says Drew. Yeah, I think we'll all take some portion of that would be requesting it, yes. How formal, Wendy. I appreciate your politeness. All right, well, let's get into that. So here's why the status quo is failing.
Welcome, come in. Please.
Aaron, please mute.
Please come in. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so for companies with marketing and sales teams, lack of alignment is costing an estimated $1 trillion overall in the US, because marketing creates content that hypes up A, B, and C about your product, but when leads gets to the sales phone call to hear about X, Y, and Z. For smaller businesses and solopreneurs, 61% say marketing, the biggest challenge is generating traffic and leads. You start off to start like a company to do the work and not the other things required to run a business. And I know that was definitely true for me, but I quickly learned that when you start your own company, your job is not doing the work, but actually it's first marketing and selling the work, then doing it. And most people don't have the skills or training for that part. And for all companies, bad content decreases the probability of a sale by 40%, and less than half of digital content is found useful. From the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're bombarded by ads and marketing copy. And how much of that do you actually remember or even notice? Now, for me, it's not that much. But it takes quality content to rise above the noise and grab your attention. If you stop to analyze the ads that do grab your attention, I bet you find that they tell a great story. And just because you have a marketing team does not mean you're telling the right stories. I've seen plenty of professional websites and LinkedIn profiles that have a ton of room for improvement. So let's dive on into what we're going to be covering today. First of all, we're going to cover how you can quickly build trust with your best clients, align your team members toward your shared mission and vision, explain the true value of what you're offering, build a following of repeat clients, and equip your teams. For each one of these, you'll learn what you can do, why it works, how to do it, and examples of people who have used these tools to great success. You guys ready? I can hear someone's needs to mute their mic, please. All right. So diving in how to quickly build trust with your best clients. What is required to build a strong, trusting relationship between you and another person? Go ahead and type that into the chat. What do you think it takes to build trust with people? Sharing personal stories, that's good, Aaron. Anyone else have any suggestions? Commonalities, good, Drew. Authenticity, Wendy, that's great. Those are all great. The first thing that you need to create any sort of meaningful connection is vulnerability. It's not about how many awards you've won or the years of experience you have or the Rolex on your wrist. It's about sharing the obstacles that laid you out but couldn't keep you down. And this works because it's how we're wired. We are a social species. We survived by working together. If you did not belong to a group back in like the hunter-gatherer times, you died. And so our brains are still wired for making those connections as a survival mechanism. So sharing a struggle with someone and overcoming an obstacle together builds incredibly strong bonds. Think about firefighters, police officers, and soldiers. even if they didn't serve together or of different units, they have that level of trust because they know they've been through the same sort of experiences. They've been through the same crap as each other. And we empathize with people who have experienced similar events in their lives as what we've experienced. So to build trust quickly, don't try and present this perfect persona. Be flawsome. Share your flaws, your insecurities, and challenges you've overcome with your audience. Show how you've achieved success in spite of or because of these challenges. If you look at this as a picture of a polished but uncut diamond, it is nowhere near as the brilliant ones that are cut. And the reason why it's all these cuts, the sharpness and all these facets reflect the light back way more brilliantly than an uncut stone. So talk more about why you do what you do rather than what you do. And then listen to what your clients are saying back to you and show you've seen, heard, and understand what they're saying. And that's what builds amazing amounts of trust with people. And a great example of this working really powerfully is Dr. Robert Cialdini. In his research, he found that when it comes to negotiations, people are almost twice as likely to come to a successful conclusion when they have a shared experience. When they share about what they've been through and there's some commonality there, the negotiation is almost twice as likely to succeed, with the results being worth 18% more to both parties. So moving on to aligning your team members towards common mission and vision. So what does lack of alignment impact businesses? How much does it impact businesses? Another stat that just blew me away was $109 million is lost for every $1 billion in project spending due to misalignment, according to the Project Management Institute. So can anyone write in one quick message, what is your company's mission in the chat? What is your mission? There's some hints. It's not what you do. It is why your company exists. Environmental protection, that's good. That's the impact you're having on the world. Yes, that's great. Prasad, help some business owners, help us, yes, little generic, improve healthcare outcomes. Good, short and sweet. Yeah, it's on the right path there. But the mission should be all about the impact you're having on the world. And the vision is what the world will be like when you are successful, painting that picture, getting people to see what you're working for and what they can achieve by supporting your business. And your values need to be actionable and clear. I mean, how many people who have employees think that what percentage of your companies know what your mission and values are before your company can recite them to you precisely? I've seen there's a great video. I saw a guy who was a coach. He was talking with the owner of a company in a meeting and about what their the values of his company were, and the CEO was like, "Oh yeah, all my team knows what the values are. They all live those." And then on the way to the elevator after the meeting, the coach stopped an employee in the hallway and said, "Hey, do you know what your company's values are?" And the employee kind of looked like deer in the headlights and went, "I don't know." And you could see behind them from the view from the camera that they were posted on the wall near the elevator, but the employee had no idea what they were. So, so why this works again is we are